we go, a video that's coming fresh off the heels of news. So, Rings of Power Season 2, all-female directing team and episode count announced. So, Season 1 of this show was a goddamn mess. Let's be real. And ultimately, and I think Scream ran to being very kind, but considering the series is extremely loosely based on the appendices of Return of the King, it pieces together the air quotes history of Tolkien's Second Age. It doesn't present the story in any way, shape or form, and changes character narrative to the point that it bears no resemblance. We have a female director who directed the first 2 episodes of Season 1, has been promoted to lead director. She will be joined by newcomers to the franchise, and they're all linked to things like Wednesday and the Wheel of Time. Wednesday I actually quite like, despite some heavy-handedness. The Wheel of Time was up there with Rings of Power for just awful adaptation. And ultimately, this is the debacle that's coming. The reason they're doing this... Oh, it's 8 episodes, by the way. The reason they're doing this is they're desperately trying to save a sinking ship. They are trying to make it so this show gets attention, and the false female empowerment narrative that this show has created with Galadriel is not only very against character of Galadriel of the Second Age, but ultimately just feels unnecessary. Ultimately, this show is content for a streaming service, and I think they're trying to maintain some relevance by putting it into the headlines. Rumours the showrunners might be pushed aside or pushed back, and ultimately there's been many red flags from the get-go with this, from the involvement of Bad Robot, to the showrunners' 10 years of failure, to where is the money in this show when things with a lot less budget and the Lord of the Rings trilogy from, 20 years ago now, looks better than this. Ultimately, I don't think this show is worth saving. And ultimately, I think this show just feels disconnected from anything it should be. The show does not present anything that should be there. The fact that there is a half-orc character in this show is mind-boggling, because orcs are corrupted elves. That's a thing. And just... this show makes my brain hurt. I do love the fact in the article on Screen Rant they say, even before Season 1 was concluded with high viewership and positive reviews, the reviews haven't been good and they were steadily getting worse. The fact that this show has no story, and also the fact that they've already shot several sections of Season 2 in New Zealand, just is so many red flags for this show that I feel like this is just an act of desperation. They're desperately trying to cling on to a show that has to be a success. The problem with that, overall, and this is being really honest, this show was meant to be the next Game of Thrones. It was meant to be that phenomenon level television show that everyone was talking about. And it really isn't. Like, even the torrents and illegal downloads of the show have been very low, and ultimately, people's reaction to the show has been not great. The fact that they're now saying that Season 1 was basically a pilot is even more red flaggy. People are now asking questions, where is the money? And I'm half expecting the audience or someone to start bursting into a rendition of Springtime for Hitler from the producers. Because that's the level of questioning with this show. And it just feels like they're trying to cling on to some relevancy simply by saying it's going to be all-female, girl boss power. And ultimately, this just feels desperate. They're not talking about the talent of the directors. They're not talking about what they've done. They're just talking about the gender of the directors. And that's ultimately a red flag. This is trying to cling on to relevancy and failing miserably. But for Amazon, they're contracted now, they're stuck with it, and it's going to make great content for YouTube. But this just screams of desperation, at this point. So tell me what you think in the comments below. All of my links and info are in the description. There are memberships and Patreon available and countless other things. Ultimately, do what you will, say what you want, and it will be very interesting hearing from you guys. Bye.